Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you, not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
And Scotty Bone here with you.
We are the
Blood Brothers.
Along with our favorite man,
Hi, guys.
the Rob O'Neill.
The Rob O'Neill, back in action.
And we have a very special guest today. Joining us for this awesome interview is Deborah Voorhees from, well, you guys probably know her best from Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. It's really nice of you.
Yeah, well, great. We're excited to have you, and we can't wait to dig into your brain a little bit and also get caught up on what you've been up to in the last, what's it been, 40 years or something?
31 years. 31 years.
Hey, be quiet.
Yeah.
Let's not discuss that.
Yeah, no, it's only been 31 years. That's not too long.
Right. Because what, Scotty?
Yeah. Where'd that 40 come from?
What, Scotty, you probably had this. What year was that? Was that
1985.
85. Okay, so to give you a little bit of perspective, Scotty and I were born in 1985.
That's why I said 31 years, because we're 31. It might have been 30 years because we were born in September, so yeah.
So
I'm a little older than you guys.
that's all right, though. It means you're wiser.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Well, that's the theory, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if it always works out that way, though.
Well, cool. Well,
I met some really smart young people and some pretty damn dumb smart, old people.
Old people, right? So, yeah, you never know.
You never know. You never know.
Well, we're glad that that's your view so that we can comfortably ask you questions. Cool. Well, let's sort of, I don't know, maybe start at the beginning. I'm sure you've done plenty of interviews, and I'm sure you get a lot of the same questions, but we're a podcast about horror movies, and not only that, we're getting into doing our own feature films and things, and so we've got the film and acting bug, and so I'm sort of wondering, at what age did that creep up on you, and how did when did you decide, hey, I'm gonna give this thing a shot?
That's a good question. I would have probably told you. A few years back that it was when I was, 18, 19, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. But more recently, I went to go see my mother, and I found a book where I had, like a journal kind of thing from when I was a real little kid. And I was like, third or fourth grade or something in there like that. And right there in there, it said that I was planning on becoming an actress and a writer. I was like, oh, well, how interesting. I did them both. And then I continued to.
So
it panned out that way perfectly.
Yeah.
It was Your dream came true.
Absolutely.
Now, I know,
there you go.
I think I got the timeline right. Before you were in the film and in a couple some TV episodes before the film, you were Playboy Bunny. Is that correct?
I was.
And that was what was that, like 2 years or so?
That was when in Dallas, Texas, is about a year. Okay. And it was a Clipper Club in Dallas, Texas.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is so cool.
So I'm sort of curious, like, does someone just come up to you and say, you should be a Playboy Bunny? Or is there like an audition process, or how does that work?
I just, just like you would go in for a job interview, only things are a little bit different, because they're sizing you and making sure, that you're going to fit all right in the outfit. And there's a lot of training involved in being a bunny, because it's kind of funny because it's thought of as this kind of really sexy, edgy thing that women did at one time. But if you really understood about the Playboy bunny, it's actually quite demure, because about the only thing is showing. You have a little bit of cleavage, and your shoulders and arms are showing, which if you think back into some of the old Victorian dresses, you had the bodices, and so they pushed up the breast, and, they'd be slightly off the shoulder, and sure, they had sleeves on, but, that the bodice and everything, basically that's all that was showing. Men think, they've seen these long legs and everything, but no, really, you're not seeing the legs at all, because you have on skin-colored tights underneath that it completely covers you 100% covered, and then you put your stockings on over that. And so men thought they were seeing a whole lot more than they were.
Okay, so it wasn't quite as bad. Rob, we're talking about breasts and Playboy, and you're silent back there. You're worrying me.
Well, I was listening if she had any advice, because I'm still filling out my application to be a Playboy bunny, and I've heard absolutely nothing back yet.
That's right.
And
Robert, that is an excellent question. I'm really glad that you're looking into interviewing for a job. I would suggest that you shave your legs, and
as long
be
as
prepared for pain.
What about the beard? Can I keep my? That's
pretty
really
fond
the
of his
thing.
beard.
No, it's really gonna have to go. The beard's gonna
Rob,
go.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This is in 2016. This is just absolutely 2017. Now it's just blatant sexism that I can't keep my beard.
Hey, they might have a spot for you, Rob, because like that Chris Farley skit where maybe the heavier crowd will enjoy the heavier bunnies.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah, but the Chippendales don't have the respect that the bunnies do.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, maybe
That's
Deborah
true.
can put in a good word for you, and then
Can I use you as a reference?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
See, there we go.
So obviously, being a bunny, you got the chance to meet Hugh Hefner. Is he pretty? I mean, does he know all the girls, or just sort of like, hey, here's Hugh, wave at him, and cool, I just met Hugh Hefner?
Well, I don't know really how to answer that, because I actually didn't meet him while I was at the Playboy Club.
Okay.
He has a whole empire of businesses and stuff.
Of course.
So I actually met him when I was in Los Angeles, working as an actress
Oh, cool.
there.
Okay.
And I was invited to the Playboy Club, or I'm sorry, to his mansion.
Oh, nice.
And met him there.
Wow.
How was his mansion? Was it pretty cool just going there and going in and taking it all in?
Yeah, it was kind of like being at an adult Disneyland. It was,
Wow.
I guess I was very much a, I don't know, I always like to try and think of myself as kind of cool and hip.
Yeah.
But the longer
Of
I live,
course.
the more I realize I'm not.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I'm just not.
You still are.
That's like Rob.
And so it was, I was a little bit of, eyes wide open and oh shit, and I
Yeah.
left early.
Yes.
It was way too much for me.
I would have been the same way.
No,
I was like
I
trying to be
wouldn't
really
have.
cool about all the naked people in the swimming pool, and I'm like going, where do I avert my eyes?
Yes. Do I partake in this, or do I just grab a drink and leave? What do
Rob,
I do here?
Rob, I think you're out of luck, Rob, because you walking around naked in a swimming pool, that place would clear out instantly.
Hey, that's probably true. But the ones that would hang around and linger, those are the ones. Those are the true
Those are
fans.
the keepers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those ones that hang around. Yeah, there
But-
you go.
That makes a lot of sense. I think everybody would imagine what you would do at the Playboy Mansion, but I think in any situation, once you get there, I mean, I'd just probably be staring at my feet like, I don't know where to look. I don't. It's a lot different than seeing it on TV. It's like, oh, somebody saw me looking. Okay, no. It's time for me to go.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like everybody was running around naked, but it was, it was kind of a very, meant to be a place that was comfortable and relaxing, and people just to be, adults and be, sexual and such.
Sure.
I mean, typically he had a regular dinner, and then he'd show a movie, and I remember they were showing me around the place, and it was beautiful. I mean, the grounds and stuff were beautiful.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was huge, and it had some really neat things. But then, like, there were like these rooms, and with beds in them, and the beds vibrated and different things like that. So I was just kind of, that's what I was like, oh, that's so nice. Can we go back in the other room?
Yeah. Are we alone in here right now?
Does the tour include
I don't remember who had taken me there, but it was several people were going around.
Okay,
so it wasn't, but I was still a little bit like, okay, that's nice. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it wasn't like one guy and the tour ended at the vibrating bed.
No. No, nothing like that.
So you were still like 19 around that time, 18, 19?
Let's see. By the time I got there, probably a little bit older than I was 19 when I was at the Playboy Club.
Okay.
And so it was a little later when I got to Los Angeles.
Nice.
So, but I was still young, and it was, but it was interesting. It was nice. I just remembered that, I left before it got dark.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good thing.
It's very nice. I'm the lady that's standing there with my hands, together, and just, hello, very nice to meet you.
Oh, that is so cool.
I'm like, okay.
So-
Maybe I'm not so cool and hip.
So you obviously sort of started out in television, and then made what? Now, correct me. Was A New Beginning? Was that your first feature length film?
Oh, that's a good. No, it wasn't. Okay. Let's see. I did 4 years, and let's see. Gosh, there was another one, and I can't.
So many, so it's hard.
Yeah, Measure of Fear. And no, Appointment with Fear.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
Something like that. I did that one, and see, I was also on TV on Riptide and Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so did you find? I mean, obviously it's a bit of a different experience. Did you have more fun on the feature film sets, or do you miss the TV days?
I honestly, I had fun on all of them, but probably the one that I had the most fun on was Riptide.
Okay.
It was just silly, goofy. It was a comedic type of a situation. That they were detectives and stuff. I don't know if you guys ever saw Riptide, but it was like a detective show, Miami Vice kind of idea, but not where there's the two detectives kind of.
A lot of room for play.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were just they were a lot of fun, and the role I had was just fun comedy to do. And but I have always enjoyed my time on the set. I loved working on the Dallas set because there's a real sense of family and stuff. Not so much when you come in and just do a speaking role and then you leave or anything, but I also worked as a stand-in on the show, and that it was just nice. It was fun because you just get to know everybody and you get to have time and visiting, and things. That's really important.
And that Dallas set, because it was a TV series, so you got to know the people because you were there for
same people over and over
for a few episodes, more than just one shooting. You shot and we're there.
Right. And then, like I said, I was there for, I guess, about 6 months doing
so cool.
Summers. working as a stand-in. And so I don't know if you know, that's where somebody comes in before the actors and they set lighting and all of that. And so it was a great opportunity to really learn about film, because, the reality is, if you keep your mouth shut and you pay attention and you watch what everybody's doing, you learn a lot. And people were always really generous. And so if I had questions, they were real generous and would answer them, and
That's
were
awesome.
real helpful.
Is that where you sort of first, planted the bug in your head? I sort of want to be a filmmaker, director myself.
No, not at all.
No.
It wasn't until much later. That just seemed like such a monumental task that it was like, I really hadn't thought in those terms. I was a journalist for many, many years. And after I left that, I started teaching. And I was at a school here in Ruidoso, New Mexico, teaching British literature. And I'm a Shakespeare geek.
Yeah, I love Shakespeare.
And me too. And so I had a student who was doing with several other students, but he was the lead artist, who was doing a mural in my room. And we got in all kinds of trouble over, even though it was approved by the principal. As soon as the school board and a parent got upset about the content, of course, then suddenly he didn't know that we were doing it. It's like, you approved it?
Yeah.
But, they what had happened was we were studying a combination of Dante's Inferno, Milton's Paradise Lost, and his one on heaven as well. And so they had created it where it was, the Garden of Eden in the center, heaven on one side, and the gates of hell on the other. And there was very cartoonish. It was not like, anything terribly graphic.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them that you can do what you want as long as you can support it textually. Look at the text and tell me if that you can tell me why you're choosing these images based on, the literature.
Yeah.
And so, it wasn't exactly my personal preference, but it's still, I wasn't going to tell the kids they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And there was they had created an image, and it was within the text of the principal and the school board came to me and they said, well, we understand that, there's the devil is biting the head of a woman's severed head. And I was like, oh, okay, now I really get why you're upset. I said, it's not the devil. I said, it's actually a demon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's much better.
That's a great...
totally changes, the whole thing. and so, but it wasn't like really offensive or scary or anything like that. It was like I said, more cartoonish.
Yeah.
Nice.
But one single student in the entire school had a problem with it. And my student afterwards, the principal said, we're going to paint it over this weekend and stuff. And I was like, this really isn't very fair. And my lead student, the artist, came to me and he said, could I go before each of your classrooms and appeal to the students to let me finish it and photograph it? And that between my working on it, that he would put a sheet over it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that nobody would be offended by it. I thought that was a very reasonable solution. And he was trying to go to college to study as an artist. So he wanted it as part of his portfolio to get into college. And so I did. I let him go from class to class and make his appeal. And
nice.
I got in trouble for that. He just, you thought it was okay for him to come and make an appeal after this has been decided? And I said, well, yeah, I thought it was a wonderful example of learning what living in a democracy is about.
Yeah.
Oh, call me crazy. And, the answer might still be no by the time he talked to the students. He had his petition, and then he was going to take it to the principal and the school board and talk about it. I thought it was very reasonable. And so anyway, as it turned out, the older brother of this young man came to me to photograph what he had so far, even though it was not complete. He and we sat down and started chatting, and I told him about a screenplay that I had been working on, and he really struck me as somebody that would be good for the lead. And he did end up playing a lead in it, but not the one I initially was considering him for. But anyway, he said the words to me. We met at a couple months later at the Alto Cafe, which is a teeny tiny little cafe not too far from where I live. And he said the words to me. He said, you could make this film yourself. And it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, all right. And so basically I believed him, so I did.
Great.
Wow. Yeah, that's all it takes. You just got to go for it.
Yeah. Clicks right there. That's awesome.
Oh, well, so that I'm gonna sort of, I know the fans are probably watering at the mouth, move into some Friday the 13th, and then after that I want to get into, because I know I have so many questions about your journalistic adventures and new filmmaking experiences,
and stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's maybe jump in a little bit to Friday the 13th and just get some interesting questions taken care of.
Yeah.
I guess first, what so for the film, was it sort of just like you're auditioning for things and then you audition for this and that was just part of your routine, or were you like, oh, this one I really want to audition for this, it's a big opportunity? Or I know they were trying to hide the fact that it was what it was at the moment, and I don't know if they masked it enough to get past you or not. But how'd you get it attached to the film?
I had an agent, and when studios and directors and stuff would put out, what films they're doing next, they would always give the name of the character and a description of the character. And my agent just saw it and thought I was a good fit, and sent my headshot and everything over. They called me in.
Well, and I'm sure maybe
and that is just kind of the normal way of it happening.
Really? Okay. I'm sure the last name didn't hurt at all.
They were definitely amused by it, but if I didn't fit the role, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
But yeah, no, they definitely got a good kick out of that one. That's for sure.
Do you? It's still on subject, but do you get? I mean, even to this day, do you get people that are like, Voorhees? No way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Are you? Yeah. You're Jason Voorhees' sister.
Check made out to me. I had a check made out to me one time that was from somebody by the name of Mike Myers.
Oh yeah.
And so they were horror fans, and they just got a real kick out of it. Mike Myers sending Voorhees a check.
yeah. Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees
that would be
butting heads.
That would be amazing.
Oh gosh, what a coincidence that is.
Wow. So. Well, that's great. So at the time, you were living in Los Angeles, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and that obviously you're originally in Texas, then in Los Angeles, obviously pursuing your dream. Did you? I mean, was that a big jump for you to move out there and do all this? Were you like scraping by, living with roommates, or was it a good experience for you?
Oh, of course. I mean, I definitely think it was a good experience. But yeah, it was definitely going into a whole nother world.
Oh yeah.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, I have to honestly say it was the first time I ever felt like I was somewhere foreign.
Sure.
Because, I'd gone to, by that time, I had been to Mexico many times, and I had been to Canada and, traveled around the United States a lot. But the LA was the only place it was like, wow, I really felt like I was in a foreign country. It was so completely different than any other place that I'd been, up to that point.
Sure.
And, and looking back on it now, because I've been to a lot more places now, and I would still say that's true. Now, I feel very much at home when I'm in Los Angeles now. And so this is like, that first reaction to it. It's just a whole nother world.
Yeah.
But going there at your age and young and starting to act in your career, it's probably just a lot to take in at one time.
Of course.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you, where are you now?
I'm in New Mexico, and it's called the Lincoln County area, which is it's just outside of Ruidoso, New Mexico. I'm in the mountains.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
Scotty and I drove through
beautiful.
Ruidoso like last year.
Yeah, we played golf up there and
Played
stayed there
nice.
for a few nights. It is beautiful up there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at?
So Scotty and I are in Colorado, just Longmont. It's north of Denver by about 40 minutes, and Rob is patching in from Florida,
Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, the armpit of Florida. right there in the panhandle.
That's how, and it smells that way and is wet, right?
It smells that way all the time in the panhandle of Florida.
Yeah, Danny and I were just...
Don't let the Truman Show and Seaside and Destin fool you. That's not what it's like over here.
Yeah, we were just down in New Mexico a few months back. We do a little acting, and we drive to Albuquerque from time to time. So it's only like a 6-hour drive from here.
You should holler at me when you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I would definitely meet up and visit.
I'll have to swing by. Yeah, it's beautiful where you're at. It's a nice little town. It happened to be our birthday when we were there, and we went to the little movie theater that you guys have there
In Ruidoso.
Yeah, Ruidoso, and we ate. God, it was down the main strip, and I forgot the name of the restaurant, but it was
like a steakhouse or something.
Yeah, it was
right?
a really good home
Really
cooked
good.
food, and it came with like the bread was awesome. These big loaves of bread. I forgot what it was called, but
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's a few over there. There's Ranchers,
okay.
and there's the Texas Club.
I don't know if I would even
the
know if I heard it. Maybe it was Ranchers.
Might have been Ranchers.
Yeah, could have been.
that kinda
Cattle
sounds-
Baron, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, isn't Lincoln County and all there in New Mexico basically the home of Billy the Kid and all the Lincoln County wars?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah, in these parts, Billy the Kid is not an outlaw.
yeah. he's a goddamn hero, Rob.
That's right.
I never said he was an outlaw. It was that damn Pat Garrett. That was.
Oh, wow. That's funny. So
I've watched Young Guns 1 and 2. I am basically an historian.
wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That qualifies you.
there's a lot of filming going on in New Mexico now
Yeah,
too. So
yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah,
It
so
really is.
yeah, and I want to actually get there too, but I'm gonna steer back to Friday the 13th for a second. And
Okay.
so you got the role, you're there. I guess so. You're working with Danny Steinman, the director, and I think this was the last film he directed, if I'm right. And
I heard that, but I don't know it to be a fact.
yeah, and I don't want to say it for
I
a
did
fact.
hear
either. I'll say that it was out there on the internet. That's all, and you can take that with a grain of salt. But
In fiction land.
I've heard a couple things about Danny. I've actually read some previous interviews with you where you enjoyed, or at least in those interviews you said that he was a cool guy and fun to work with. And I've heard though that like Melanie Kinnaman didn't get along and didn't like him, and I've heard that I've heard before too in a couple documentaries that he can get a little intense. So, like, what was your experience working with him?
I didn't see anything negative, honestly. He was just a very nice, very professional And yeah, no, I didn't have any problems, and I certainly never saw him behave, like you said, in an kind of an intense way at all.
I remember there was
very polite.
I only heard, and this might be totally untrue in some, because we've all seen or heard before that he got his start in like the porno industry or something, and I read somewhere that he was like, and I forgot even who was doing the scene where he's yelling out like fuck her harder, and I don't know if that was a thing or not, or if that was just
that was a lie. No.
Oh, really?
I don't know where some of that started.
Yeah.
No, that was just
Yep,
no,
it's
never.
all.
Yeah.
Well, now you've heard it here, fans.
Yes. It's a lie.
Yeah. So, well, that's cool. Yeah, you never know who got along with who and how it's going to affect what they say about him later on in life. So it's just a shame sometimes.
Right.
So
yes.
Well, yeah. Well, that's cool. So other than that, though, I mean,
didn't honestly have any problems on set with anybody.
That's great. Very
And
easygoing.
if there was an issue with anybody, then I didn't know about it, and they didn't choose to share it with me.
Sure. And I know you. So when watching the movie, you end up getting stabbed in the eyes with some hedge trimmers at about, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through or so. So was that?
Right.
Did they how many days did you spend on set? Were they doing a lot of shooting past you, or were you towards the end?
I was there at the beginning. It was an 8-day shoot for me.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, okay. That's curious.
Was it true the first day on set, did they film the death scene and your nude scene? Was it like your first day on set? They're like, all right, get on set. We're going to film the scene. Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a 13-hour day.
Oh, wow.
Was it
It's
pretty?
a long time with the makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty grueling, I bet. Oh, wow.
Yeah, people don't understand that. They see the death scene, they're like, oh, they probably just threw some blood in her eyes and took a couple takes. It's like, no, she's probably sitting in makeup for hours, and so.
Yeah, no, it's long and intense, and there was also prep time before ever getting on set.
Mm-hmm.
I went to, 'cause they had to do a mask for my eyes and the nose.
Oh, wow, I bet.
To do all of that, and so when I went in for that, they basically had to make a mold of the front of my face to make the mask. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know what the material, the stuff was that actually made the mold, but it was very, very cold. And once they put it on you, it was like you had a you know how you get that brain freeze when you have a Slurpee or something and you drink it too fast? It was like that, only you couldn't stop it. It just kind of, really froze your head. And so once then they had that, then they made the, the little, it was just actually a very small and very thin piece of, the mask. It looked and felt like skin. It was,
Sure.
And it took a long time to get that put on, because you can't have any lines, and you have to make sure that everything blends in perfectly well with the eyes. And I really couldn't tell you exactly how long, but I'm going to say it was at least 3 hours in makeup.
Oh my gosh!
And then
for that part of it.
Yeah, and then you're walking around not being able to see for the whole day, right? I mean,
well, no, not the whole day, but just for that part of it. But it did get, it does get to the point then when you can't once they put the blood in your eyes, then of course you can't see at that point, and you've got to pretty much hold your eyes shut, and that was difficult because the stuff that they used to make the blood actually burned the eyes, and so it would seep through, and so it actually hurt. And but I don't know. And then that took a while to get all the shots and get everything lined up. But of course, they tried really hard to, do it and get it done quickly. But filmmaking, it just takes a lot of time. You've got lights and cameras and crew
Oh,
and
yeah.
sound and all these different things that are needed. And but people were worked hard and they were really nice and stuff.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome. So that scene was filmed before your other scenes where you're sitting at the dinner table, you're with Eddie and you're with the whole crew, the camp crew and stuff. So that scene, the death scene, was filmed before all that, right?
right.
Oh wow.
Well, at least it got you comfortable.
Yeah, I got you comfortable. At least. So, is it true? So,
Well, I think it was actually a smart move
Yeah.
on Danny's part because those kind of days can be, nerve-wracking and stuff, and just got it over with, done,
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah.
So it was
Well,
smart.
hard part done with.
Well, we all know, and after researching it, that a lot of those death scenes were cut down so much
big
by the
time.
ratings, by MPA. Was there when you went to see the finished product, was there any bit of kind of like I went through all this work and it was going to be much more gruesome, and you could really tell where they cut a lot of it out?
No, I couldn't tell. Not at all.
Well, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause
No, I mean, there's different angles and different cuts, but no, I didn't see that at all.
I gotta say, my maybe favorite death was right after yours with Joey, whatever,
Eddie.
or Eddie. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
getting them mixed
Eddie.
up. Yeah, with the strap around the face. Was that a totally different day when you were gone, or were you able to see how they did some of that?
No, if I remember right, they did it the same day because it was. If I remember right, it was of course, it looks like it's in the same location, but I think it was actually shot in the same spot. And you guys probably know you don't shoot a film in order. You
Sequence,
shoot it
yeah.
by where the location is.
Mm-hmm.
Where was the location shot for the
It
majority?
was outside of LA.
Okay.
It was outside of LA, but I really, honestly, don't remember exactly where it was. 'Cause you parked your car and then you got in a van, and that's pretty typical on films when you're out somewhere, because it can be pretty difficult, managing so many cars. And
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you?
But
Sorry, go ahead if you were.
I really don't know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Like most everybody, we don't pay as close
Outside of
attention
LA.
when you're not talking.
I want to know the
But
coordinates. Damn
it
it.
was that far. Damn it. Sorry.
So, I also heard that you sort of beat out John's girlfriend for the part. I mean, was there any tension there afterwards?
There wasn't for me.
No.
It was just it wasn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Other than that, for Danny, he didn't feel like she understood the part.
Yeah.
But because most of the actresses were angry when Eddie came and said, that, let's go into the woods and, make love. And you're not going to get mad at your boyfriend for that. It's just, doesn't make sense to get mad. So that's really all it was.
Okay.
Initially the producer they had kind of seen her and decided on her, and they actually, my understanding, and I'm only going by what the producer and the director told me, is that, they already had her under contract and everything, but Danny wasn't happy with the situation. And so he auditioned me and told him that's what he wanted, and then the producer saw me and agreed.
Oh.
Well, the role of Tina, it couldn't be played by anyone else besides you. I
Couldn't
couldn't imagine it.
Had there been texting and cell phones at the time, he probably would have been getting a barrage of texts from his girlfriend. That bitch! You take pictures. You better not enjoy that scene.
It would have been on Facebook.
Yeah, it's definitely a flip, I think, because the girlfriend played it cool, but I think if it was the opposite, if it was your girlfriend running into the boyfriend, would be hiding behind the tree in the background, just making throat slashing motions toward Eddie, like,
Right.
Yeah. You don't. It's acting. You don't have to touch to act. You just.
Right.
Do you ever keep in touch with like John Robert Dixon or any of the other fellow actors that were on set with you ever, or they kind of just faded away now?
No, I have a lot of them on my Facebook.
That's great.
They're all really nice. Yeah, I like them a lot. John's real nice, and I like Shepard. He's a really nice guy.
John Shepard, yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, and did so you said talking to producer director, was that Frank Mancuso you were talking to?
Yes.
Okay. How is he? Is he a pretty cool guy?
Yeah, no, he's a real nice guy. I honestly really didn't have any problems with anybody on set.
Okay. Yeah, I just he's sort of almost responsible for most of the series, so I just he's it'd be cool to talk to him.
We've seen
and that's something that's something good you want to hear. I think doing movies like this should just be a whole bunch of fun. I think
Oh, absolutely.
I can't imagine it. I'm not into acting, but it looks like that'd just be a blast to go in the woods and just make even if you're only on set for 8 days or a couple of days, it's just got to be a blast to go out there and do all that without all the stress. It seemed like it would be a fun shoot.
Absolutely.
And
if you're on a film set, shouldn't be stressful, and of course it is to a certain extent. It's much more stressful for a director because there's so much going on, and the director is responsible for so many things happening. But as an actor, not. Of course, there are going to be sometimes there'll be people who just don't get along well and have conflicts and that sort of thing. But yeah, if you're going to go on a film set, I think your number one responsibility to yourself and everybody else is to chill and have fun.
Yeah. So have you seen? I saw. Have you only seen the first Friday the 13th and then this one, or have you since watched all of them?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
I have seen mine and mine only.
Oh, good.
I am not a horror fan. And, although I am looking at the possibility of doing like a ghost story or something.
Yeah.
But,
great.
I probably know, but I'm like, it's so easily scared.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It's almost comical.
You're like our wives.
I was watching. I love the Shaun of the Dead. I love Edward
That's a
Wright.
great
I mean, he's just so funny, and that
Comedy
kind
horror.
of thing I don't mind. But there was one point in there where I jumped and ran and got the seat next to my husband, and he looked at me and goes, "You are kidding me, right?"
Yeah.
Well, it was scary like there for a second. Really scary.
Yeah.
So it's not. So it's more the scare, not so much like the blood and gore that gets you.
Well, it can all get to me, but yeah, it's a scare.
Yeah.
If you take a camera and you move down an empty hallway with scary music playing, you will send me through the roof.
You're just
That's
like
all
our
you
wives.
gotta
Yeah,
do.
that's what you're saying.
That's it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, my wife and Danny's wife's just like that. They don't like the scary movies.
I'm not allowed to
much.
watch horror with my wife. It's a shame because we're such horror fans. She's like, "No, I can't do it. I can't do it."
And it's kind of funny.
I
'cause-
can completely understand her. I have really had to make myself watch some scary ones to try and see what I feel like I can do. And I think I would really enjoy doing a ghost one. I put out a call out on this thing called Ink Tips to try and get some good ghost scripts. And one of the things I put in there is that I didn't want like a lot of gore and stuff, but you wouldn't believe some of the things that I've been given.
Oh wow.
Oh my gosh, like Friday the 13th sound pain. I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Well,
and then I'm sitting
gore.
there reading some of these scripts, and I'm looking around my house, and suddenly my calm, loving house has creaks and this and that, and I'm like, it's like I got so traumatized that I kind of like films that are kind of on the edgy side and interesting and complicated characters and stuff, and I found myself sitting in front of Hallmark special after Hallmark special.
Yeah.
Going, I don't want to live in any world but the Hallmark world.
Yeah.
Where people are nice
Yeah.
and they don't scare you, and even the mean people are nice.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Yeah, going from Dallas to straight to Innocent and Prey, and then Appointment with Fear, and then straight to Friday the 13th. You did like 3 suspenseful movies straight. It's like, oh, what the heck?
Yeah, that Hallmark thing, that Hallmark trick. I know a couple of people who are like, yeah, I'm a horror fan, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I have to watch mine at night, after my wife goes to bed, and I just go to bed right after that. And they're like, oh no, I can't go to bed right after that. I got to watch like a Hallmark movie right before I go to bed after I watch a horror movie.
Yeah, no, I'm that way. If we watch a scary movie, I have to watch something else before we go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my husband knows he has to commit that long to me because I will not be left alone. We can't even have a scary movie on, and he wants to go and get something in the kitchen. I'm like, you pause it.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere without me having my security person right there.
Oh gosh.
I think I'm tough, but a couple times I've done the whole watch the movie, go straight to bed, and had nightmares. I'm like, oh, I'm such an idiot. So.
And of course, it's different. It's different being in the movie. You're in the horror movie, but you're not watching it, so you don't really necessarily.
You don't feel it is. You don't.
No,
Feel
it's not scary when you're making a movie, a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's not scary at all.
So you didn't have any like scares or nightmares after you're making like Jason and or Friday the 13th.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Your eyes
There's
getting
nothing
gouged
scary
out.
about making a film.
Yeah.
It's the editing and the music and the special effects and everything that makes it scary. Yeah. And I'll sit there. I was watching. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was I can't remember the name of it. It was a scary movie. I'm sitting there the whole time going, there's a director and a DP and there's lights around and there's the whole crew, trying to get myself, because I kept going, honey, I don't think I can make it through this movie. I don't think I can make it through this movie. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, see if you think about all the behind scenes stuff.
It's a normal ghost story. It wasn't like really, but it was the first one that I tried, and it just about sent me through the roof.
That's pretty bad.
So, yeah.
All right, so swinging us back to Friday the 13th, I know we're all scared of ghost stories and movies. Well, mainly you, Deborah.
That's all right.
But, that's okay. But
there's been a couple of them out there that I've left the bathroom light on.
It's true.
Just need a little bit of light in here.
Which one? Which ones?
The latest and greatest, the brand new Blair Witch Project was that was pretty rough.
Rob, you're proud of you got to be proud of me, Rob. You got to be proud of me because I watched it last night and went straight to bed.
Well, I didn't say I didn't go to sleep. I'm a man, okay? I went to sleep with a light on.
I need
That's
to see it.
Different. Which makes no sense because with the light on, you see it coming. I guess I'd want to be surprised by it.
Yeah. No.
But, no, I drug my wife to that one, and she was not happy.
My most recent trouble sleeping was after It Follows. That was sort of a newer one, 2016 or 15.
You didn't have trouble last night?
No, actually, I was good last night. Yeah.
Did you like the movie?
It was good.
Nice,
yeah, it was good.
Nice.
So,
but I think that's what we need to do. We all need to go to Lincoln, and then we need to take Deborah out to the newest, latest, and greatest, most terrifying movie.
You can bring your husband.
No.
Bring your husband, yeah. And then we'll go to the museum afterwards. We'll watch it during the day. There we go.
Let's find something mildly scary. My husband's been teasing me because I've been, since I've been looking for a ghost script to do, and he goes, honey, what you really want is you want Casper.
Yeah, the friendly
I
ghost.
go, well, he's scary.
You want Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Casper the friendly ghost, along with it.
Oh. So
we don't know how friendly that ghost actually was.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Only on camera, right?
Yeah.
Very suspect.
So I want to know, so sort of in my opinion on Friday the 13th, I thought Carol Locatell, or however you say her last name, who played Ethel, she was I don't know. I loved her in it.
She was
She was
Junior's
freaking
mom.
awesome. Yeah, Junior's mom had
Lots
the wig.
of people loved both of those characters.
Yeah,
they
they
were
were-
really funny.
Ridiculously funny.
Were you able to? I mean, did you film a lot with those characters, or was it fun watching them in character on set?
Oh yeah, no, they were a lot of fun. They were real, like, actors. They were nice
Sure.
people.
Wow.
Yeah,
And-
they're funny.
And Tom Morga played Jason. Is that right?
Is that what did I
You-
have written
well,
down?
I don't know how they did it on other films, but I imagine it was pretty much the same. Like the person who played Jason wasn't actually there.
Oh, really?
I'm sure at some point, but when I looked up, it was just a guy with a red
Mask.
beard.
Oh, okay.
And then he had the shears. You were looking up in like the sky, and then you just see the shears coming down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And
That was just they just yelled off set. They said, "Can we get Tony in here with the shears real quick?"
Yeah. Because it could be anyone. Just hold it. Guy with the red beard.
That's right. Yeah, and I think I even read on this one, but it's very common on most of them that there's like 3 Jasons or one guy who plays Jason, but then he might have a stunt double. I know a lot of times they used a stunt guy for Jason.
We have
but,
you have the stunt double.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
so you just never know, who's
Right.
who's really him when they're playing him.
So did
Well,
you?
this is
Sorry.
true with a lot of films. Like even sometimes, like if you're in an intimate conversation with people, I've seen this where I was on set where, for whatever reason, one of the leads had to leave, and they go in for the close up, and it might even can be really tough because if it's a really romantic scene, and they're trying to have this conversation, and your lead just left, and now you're stuck having to have this conversation with, so I did it a couple times as a stand-in, having a conversation with them. Wow. And, they have to still try and make it believable that they're talking to their lead person.
That's got to be rough.
Acting is not an easy thing because especially with film acting, on the stage you get some momentum going and you go from the beginning to the end. And there's a gradual changing in your emotion and your motivation and the different things that you're doing along the way. Of course, in some ways it's more difficult in that you have to remember all those lines all the way through.
Sure.
But in a film, it's all cut up into a lot of pieces, and you have to really know your script well and make sure that you're following through on the proper motion, proper time.
Sure. Yeah.
And and then you're put in an environment that's very plastic and completely not realistic, and you have to make them believe that it is. I mean, very often somebody, when they're supposed to be seeing something horrible and monstrous, there's absolutely nothing there. I mean, absolutely nothing but void of space.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. Yeah.
I had one time when I had to walk into a room where this was with Measure of Fear and Fear. I don't know. I can't remember which one it is. They changed the title, and I can't remember what they went with. And but it was supposed to be the killer right there, and it was just a guy eating a cheeseburger.
Oh my gosh!
Like, okay, maybe help me out a little. Honey?
Rob, Rob, that can be.
I was about to say, I didn't know
part.
show business was like that.
Rob, that can be your part in when we start filming this next year for the film. You can be the guy eating the cheeseburger.
Look, well, I mean,
here you go.
Depending on how good the craft services is, will really help me find my character's motivation.
Okay,
that's not really scary.
There you go.
That it sort of reminds me. I've heard a rumor, a horror story about so Wesley Snipes, who does the Blade movies and a ton of action stuff. I heard for Blade 3, he was such a prima donna, he would not come on set unless it was for like a close-up shot. If you watch that movie, and not that you watch like horror action, but any action sequence or anything where it's like a medium to wide shot, it's his like double. And he's like, don't come to my trailer unless it's a close-up.
Yeah.
So you got to feel bad for the actor on the other side who's acting, trying to.
I have a hard time.
filling
I have a hard time believing that.
I can see I can see
possible
myself
that
doing that.
It could be. You could do it from if the person wasn't facing the camera, but you can't do that on a medium shot.
Yeah, maybe
no
I'm
way.
Couldn't do
maybe
that
I'm
even
wrong
on a
with
wide
the,
shot.
maybe
I
I'm
don't.
wrong with the medium.
There's,
but-
I don't know. There's no way that's true. It always drives me crazy. These silly rumors that'll go around.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a symbol of truth somewhere in there, but
Yeah, like he
you know,
missed, like he didn't come for one shot or something. And
Yeah.
now it's the whole movie.
right. And then suddenly he didn't come for anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I just thought, going back to my original question, I thought they gave Carol sort of just free reign with some of her lines there, and I think I heard, I don't know if it's true, but she came out with some of those zingers just off the cuff, you know. So
I heard that, but I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, I did hear that.
yeah, that's cool. Well,
Did you meet up with John Robert Dixon before the scene and like kind of get comfortable with him and like?
Yes.
You know, okay, good. I was like wondering, like you didn't shoot it like, oh, you met him the first day and you shoot the sex scene.
yeah.
No, we actually met not far from the ocean. We drove, real close. I mean, like just a few hundred feet from the ocean, and then
nice.
went out there and walked and visited and talked and everything. Just he was a real nice guy.
Good.
He made it easy.
Oh,
Easy.
good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could
that's-
imagine dealing with a creeper in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that would have been stressful for 13 hours. Oh gosh. Well, that's good. You're
Well, it's
comfortable
not
with
like
him.
that. It's not like that part of it was 13 hours. It's like
Yeah.
everything.
Everything.
You know,
just the
Okay.
whole
getting
yeah.
there, and if I think we shot the scene at the it seems like, I'm trying to remember if we shot the scene at the clothes line or not.
Oh yeah.
That day we certainly did the running
yeah.
through the woods and stuff that day, but I'm trying to think if we did the clothesline one or not.
When what's his name dies.
So it seems like we did. So that, of course, added to the time. Then we had the makeup for the non-dead part of it, and then makeup for the horror makeup.
Yeah,
too. So.
Well, that seems like his fault that the the lovemaking in the woods scene didn't last. I just would have kept messing it up. Just have to keep reshooting.
Yeah, right?
And of course, you guys had to have a joint there. You had to be smoking a joint. This is the 1980s, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
this
It wasn't really a joint.
Oh.
It was actually an herb. It was one of those herbal cigarettes.
that was my next question. It's the 80s. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you too if it was a real joint,
That
but
would be the
obviously it wasn't.
70s, I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be the 70s. So, yeah, that's cool.
Oh, it was so popular in the 80s, too.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's true. Well, before I start asking questions past Friday the 13th, Rob, are you itching to ask more Friday the 13th questions? What do you got?
Well, I guess the only question I had was, I know that after it was released, a lot of fans came out and said that it's not Jason, it was Roy.
Yeah.
And if anybody, and if any of the cast and crew, ever had any kind of backlash from it, because it seems now, 31 years later, that it's just as beloved as all the other ones are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. I'm sure there's, I've always heard that people, said this or that about it, but, I have to say I've always had really nice fans. As far as I know, nobody's ever been ugly to anybody.
No one
Well,
came,
yeah.
no one came up to you and be
it's
like,
been nice.
you're from the fake one without Jason
Yeah,
in it.
you're
Yeah.
I
I can't
always thought
imagine
they should
somebody
do a
doing
sequel.
that.
Yeah.
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 They should have done Friday the Part 5, Part 2. Roy Lives.
Yeah.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
That's cute. I don't know. I have found that horror fans are very loyal and very nice. The first time that I went to meet some horror fans, I actually was in London, and I was invited to come and do some autographs and stuff. And I was premiering, or I should say previewing, my film there, Billy Shakespeare.
Oh, nice.
And I was really nervous because I don't do scary movies, and I was wondering, well, who likes scary movies? Maybe they're going to be scary. And, and it was just like, oh, no, my gosh, they're so nice and they're so sweet. And, I did, I'm going to do another horror convention, but my first horror convention that I did was after that. No, wait. Is that right? Let me think. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm getting my times mixed up. I can't remember for sure. No. I'm sorry. The first time I met the horror fans was at a convention in the Dallas area. But I was, I was nervous about it because I thought, well, there's this big convention, and I thought maybe everybody will be running around in really scary costumes, and, there'll be like scary images everywhere and scary movies playing on everything everywhere. And I thought, this is going to be sensory overload for me.
Totally.
And, but no, it wasn't like that at all. It was really, laid back. And, I noticed that the fans who contact me on Facebook, I have only had to unfriend 2 people.
Yeah.
And I would
That's
say,
good. That's good.
considering that I am contacted every single day of my life by fans, I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah, no.
It was more like, people who couldn't grasp boundaries. I had one guy who just wouldn't grasp the boundaries. I said, unless you found my phone number, and so he decided to call me.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
No, you don't do that. I said, boundaries are really important to me, and I don't want you doing that.
No. Yeah.
And so then, he started texting me, and he said, well, you didn't say I couldn't text. And then
Did you threaten to call his mom and have him kicked out of the basement he was living in?
Yeah, I probably should have. What is your mother's number?
Yeah.
Right now. Give it to me.
Guys, you won't believe it. I'm texting Deborah Voorhees right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, then he did that new thing where you can call people via Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh.
And so,
Yep.
and then I was really trying to say, do it in a nice way, and was trying to be direct. Don't do this ever again, but also be polite and not just unfriend him or anything. But I just finally unfriended him and blocked him, and decided that that happens again, I'm just going to do it immediately.
What was he? What did he just call you and be like, "Hey, how's it going? How's your day?" Or is he like, "Do you have all these fan questions for you?"
Yeah, I didn't pick up because I don't pick up calls. I don't know who the person is.
Sure.
And so he left a message.
Was there like evil organ music playing in the background?
Yeah.
No, I think he was probably just. I'm sure he probably wasn't a bad person, but maybe just not socially responsible. Like not good in social situations. Not responsible. That's not the word I meant, but just not good in social situations. But I was uncomfortable with it, and so. But considering, the number that have contacted me, that's really pretty small.
Yeah.
That's good. You did the right thing.
Like I said, for the most part, I did have to do a thing where I don't allow anybody to post my Facebook page, because people would throw things up, and I'd be like, my mother is on here.
I block that stuff too, for sure.
No.
Yeah, you have to prove it.
Yeah, so I don't let anybody post on anything.
Wow.
But,
well, you won't have any worries like that for me. I just sent you a Facebook friend request, and I'm waiting now.
He wants.
Me too.
Rob wants your number, and he's coming to Lincoln.
Yep. Oh gosh.
That's just because me and her have a mutual respect for Billy the Kid. It's nothing.
Oh yeah.
Don't turn everything dirty.
That's
okay?
why. That's why.
So
I'm really usually very laid back. So once I meet somebody and things, I'm pretty laid back. But I don't know you. It's a little.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Well, I lied about the.
I feel comfortable with you guys.
Well, I lied about the Friday the 13th questions, because I actually did have a couple more things I wanted to ask. So, I know that like Corey Feldman made like a cameo in this. Was that like on his own, or did you guys get to see him at all?
Oh, let me try and remember.
He's like,
'Cause he's the
I
real
remember-
Tommy
I'm
Jarvis.
pretty sure we saw him on set. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's a really nice guy, and I met him at the convention that I went to.
Oh.
But it seems like I'm pretty sure I met him on set too.
okay. I was just curious.
I
about
mean,
that.
it wasn't like a. He wasn't like the kind that it was like, okay, I'm here or anything.
Yeah.
It was just laid back. He was just like giving anybody.
Because he was a
That's-
lot younger.
yeah, of
too,
course,
back
at the
then.
time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I don't know. This is not like confirmed or anything. I just thought I heard somewhere that like, and maybe you've heard this too, that you were voted like best breasts in the Friday the 13th series.
No, that is true. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
so
good.
it's
Oh,
not-
good.
okay,
So that
good.
one is true.
Yes.
Did you get like a trophy or something for that?
They didn't give me a trophy. What's up with that?
Hey,
I don't understand.
I'll find that article
I
right now and
also
send him a
got-
message.
Jeez.
I think you should do something about that. Yeah.
See this
There
Friday
was
the
another
13th.
one that came out that gave me the top 13 horror kills, sexy horror kills.
Oh, nice.
And then, of course, one of my fans immediately, which I was really surprised because, like, it was like Janet Leigh and Psycho was in there. So I was super excited to be on that list. And one of my fans very sweetly wrote, he goes, just objecting to the whole idea of sexy horror kills. He thought that was a little crossing the line.
wow.
And, it's nothing sexy about being murdered. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
See, this one is one of the best ones because it has the best breasts from Deborah,
There you go.
and then it has the highest body count in Friday the 13th.
It does have the
history,
highest
too.
body count.
So,
but I mean,
Does it?
but you don't see Jason.
you see him in the beginning. It's
Yeah.
like the very beginning.
Yeah, it does have the
So,
highest body count too.
yeah.
So
But well, cool. Well, I sort of, I mean, gosh, time flies, I guess. But I did want to ask a little bit about some of your stuff after that because you went into journalism, and I'm reading some of your bio, or I was, and there's some interesting stuff. Like you interviewed a couple assassins, and you like illegally crossed some borders to interview. Sorry, that's our show dog, Steve. Everyone knows him on the show.
yeah,
Who is he murdering this time?
That's the mailman. That's the mailman pulling
yeah,
up.
he's gonna bite a hole in his
Yes.
hand again.
Steve
Yes,
already
yeah, Steve's on parole right now.
He is.
He's gonna get.
without joking, I'm literally on probation for him biting the mailman. So
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah.
now, yeah, there's the mailman again, but he's locked up. but anyways, yeah, I wanted to so like how was you interviewed some interesting people, right? And did some interesting things while being a
I had a
journalist.
lot of I had some very interesting interviews. I worked as a journalist for almost 2 decades.
Wow.
And 11 years with the Dallas Morning News.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just, there was something, an amazing privilege that comes with being able to sit down and have someone open up their heart and their mind to you and share who they are with you.
Wow.
And I was very, very careful whenever I was interviewing something that I didn't just say what they said, but I made sure that I understood what they meant.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, I don't like the spy gotcha journalism where, you get somebody to say something that maybe seems like it's not quite right, but probably the person doesn't mean it, doesn't understand what they just said. And I found, as a journalist, you have an enormous amount of responsibility
Oh yeah.
to take care with your sources, that you're really paying attention. And of course, I'm not suggesting that it's, journalists who are covering politics and different things like that. Of course, they need to, take a look at what the truth is, because God knows the politicians love to lie to us.
Oh yeah.
And so, you need to be able to look at that. But I did a stories, a lot of stories about human beings and their thoughts and their minds. I did a lot of stories on artists and stuff.
Okay.
I love talking to artists. I had one guy that I interviewed, and he was he had some. He was a really nice man, but he wasn't capable of being able to live in society in a way that a lot of us choose to. He was a homeless man. But, the idea of being able to live in a house and keep up with the house and paying the bills and doing the things that would be necessary to do, it just wasn't in his area of ability. And he made walking sticks, and he would carve these walking sticks with different kinds of biblical phrases and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
And his work they were in some of these major galleries and museums.
Jeez.
But he wasn't able to, take care of himself.
Yeah. Like
And
live the normal
so-
life and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't unhappy in his life. It was what it was, and
Yeah.
that's all there was to it. And so, when people open up like that to you and talk to you about what's going on with them and what's happening, it's a real privilege.
Well,
And
so
I
what?
was very blessed during those years.
Oh, yeah.
I have to just ask though. I mean, you interviewed like an assassin, like an actual assassin,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
someone that is
Wow.
paid to kill somebody.
That is so
Right.
awesome.
So like,
Government.
Don't
Government.
don't put labels on people, Danny.
hey,
He-
I just want to know, like, I don't know. Is there any? I don't even know what to ask. Is there anything interesting you can just tell us about the interview that is awesome?
Well, it was over a very long period of time, and I actually ended up, and it was actually more than one person. And so it ended up being a composite character in a fictional book that I wrote called Memoirs of a Hitman.
Okay.
So we should pick up the book and check it out
Yes.
in order to.
I should probably go ahead and just self-publish it, because I just ended up, it's one of those things that's been sitting there. I do have a blog where I have several pages of it. I've had some people read it and said they feel like I need to change the title of it, because they were kind of expecting action adventure, and while that's an aspect in there, what I really wanted to explore was, I chose to make my character an elderly man who was dealing with the fallout and the consequences of being an assassin.
Okay.
And
Sounds
dealing
great.
with his estranged son, and dealing with his past, and kind of coming to terms with who he was. It dealt a lot with his last and final kill too.
Wow. That
You
is
hear-
so
That's a really
cool.
interesting take
you hear,
on it. I like
you hear that, Rob? There are consequences to being a hitman, even though the money's good. So
You don't know that.
all you want to do is be a hitman and a Playboy bunny.
Yeah.
You can't have it both.
Look, I don't want to be like the hitman, I want to be like a 1980s Italian mafia hitman, so I get to wear the windbreaker and the Reeboks
Yeah.
and everything.
That would be really cool, Rob.
And then everybody will call me I'll change my name to Paulie Genevetti or something like that, and then nobody, and then I could just eat baked ziti all day long,
Yeah.
and I won't get judged for
There
it.
you go. There you go. So
That's true.
So Deborah, you started off acting, and then you kind of stopped for a little bit. Then did your journalistic work, and now you're back doing acting and writing and directing and all that, right?
I did want to ask though, real quick,
That's
before
so
you
cool.
did that. I wanted to just get the story behind in your bio. Crossing illegally into the Badlands of Mexico. What's that story?
Yes, I did.
Oh
I did.
yeah,
Oh.
you took some risks.
I wanted to go horseback riding into Mexico, And I don't know why it seemed like the best way to go was illegally.
Hey, yeah, that's right.
It's okay. We won't tell anybody. She's a coyote. A quixote. She was.
Don Quixote.
I've never heard of anyone
Yeah.
crossing illegally into Mexico.
Usually it's the other way
know,
around.
A lot of people thought that was quite ironic. There's a woman down in that Terlingua area in Texas.
Okay.
And she and I'm trying to remember his name. Her name was Linda, and his name, I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it in a minute. But he was actually a rancher from Mexico, who's, he was in an area where it was suffering from a drought, and so they were really struggling terribly. And so they were running horseback riding trips through the Texas area. Okay. And I wanted to go through the Badlands of Mexico. And so she put together a trip for me, and they took us through. And that was a really interesting trip. I ended up in a little town that doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, it's there, but it doesn't actually have a name and all the things that go with having a town anymore. Wow. But it was an interesting thing because, well, for one thing, there was one bar in the whole town, no gringos at all. No. And so when we're riding horseback through this place, and we'd been on horseback for several days, and so we're looking a little on the gritty side.
Oh yeah.
And people are peering out their doors and their windows, and kids are being ushered inside, and this and that. And we we get to we pass a little bar in town and everything, and explained to me that only women of the night go in there.
Oh, whoa.
And, it was a town you had to have a male escort in order to go out someplace, or they would assume you were a hooker.
Jeez.
And I met there was a big dance, and you know how when you do a country dance here in the States, you put down sawdust on the floor. Well, they put down grease on the floor, like motor oil.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was intense trying to dance on that. But the patron of the town, I met him and everything, and it was basically kind of a thing of, you're welcome to stay. You got 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's time for you to go. And
See, I got the message.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. You could see we went across a crossing that where you could see the horse hooves and marks, because people have been crossing there for so long. It's like where the the conquistadors and stuff traveled through.
Jeez.
When they were going between Mexico and the States. Yeah. It was like really embedded down into the rock. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. What an experience.
And some of the area was just mind-blowing in its, desolation. And
that's crazy.
it was really interesting. Yeah.
So good experience.
Yeah, that makes me want
to a crazy
jump
experience.
on a horse and go in the backcountry.
Yeah, I know.
Even though I can't ride a horse for crap, and my ass would be sore. So.
The horses don't like Danny. Whenever he gets on a horse, it just runs off, and he can't control it.
We tried to horseback ride in Mexico this last year.
Yeah,
it did not go well for me.
Yeah,
that's not Danny's fault. Horses are not to be trusted.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
My horse was good. I had the biggest horse, and mine was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. Mine didn't know English. That was the deal.
Oh yeah.
So
there you go.
Well, I know Scotty mentioned it, but we can go into that too. I wanted to ask. I know you're into Shakespeare. You had a short film and a music video first, and now a feature film. for revolving around Shakespeare, correct?
Actually, I did the feature film first.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And then
Billy
I
Shakespeare.
did a short film called Othello, Goodnight, My Sweet, which is the final death scene in Othello.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on Vimeo. You can see it there.
Okay.
Cool.
And then I did 2 music videos for the Sonnet Man. And in fact, I'm doing my 3rd one with him now.
Cool.
That's what I was editing when you guys called. And
Nice.
this one we shot in England at Stratford upon Avon, which that's where Shakespeare was born.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot it's Sonnet 18.
God, what? How cool.
And so no, I do love the man. One of the Shakespeare music videos was the Sonnet Man. His name is Devon Glover, and he rapped Shakespeare's Hamlet's "To Be or Not to Be" soliloquy.
Oh, wow.
First in Shakespeare's language, and then in modern language.
Okay.
And then we put music or a video to that, and that was out of 1,000 entries, 12 films were chosen by Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare Film Festival in England, and that was included.
Wow.
And it's now going to be a part of, they said they're looking at taking the films and touring them through museums throughout the United Kingdom.
Wow.
So
That's
I'll be
amazing.
anxious to see how that'll come about.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Jeez. And so the feature, I mean, tell us a little, I know it was like sort of an as if Shakespeare were to write plays in modern days. I read that. And so is it
Modern day bard.
Yeah. Is it like a comedy? Do you really go after that?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely a comedy.
Okay. Is that available for anywhere to watch?
It's on
It
Amazon,
is.
right?
It's actually,
Okay.
it's on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's What a Shakespeare never existed until now. How would he be, and how would his works be, looked at by Hollywood?
Sure.
And that whole concept just really cracked me up after, because I had been to Hollywood and spent time there, and really kind of understand, just the way Hollywood is. It's a different world.
Yeah.
And imagining, what Shakespeare would have gone through.
Mm-hmm.
Because after I got back from Los Angeles is when I discovered him. And, well, of course, I had known his work before that,
Sure.
but, where I really started to fall in love with his work.
Mm-hmm.
And understand the complexity and the beauty of his language and how he phrased things and such. And I just thought it would be really funny. And it started out as a joke, with friends. And 9 months later, I gave birth to a screenplay.
Wow.
How cool.
And did you, was that a large project? Did you shoot nearby, or was it did you have a decent budget?
I shot
for
it almost. No, I had a very small independent film budget, and I shot it here in Rio del Sol, New Mexico, and it's supposed to be in Hollywood. I did drive to LA and get a few outdoor shots, but for the most part, everything was done here in this area, and it was great fun. It was a wonderful time of the community coming together to create something. I had some of the most amazing people you could possibly imagine, involved in helping just make it happen.
Oh, that's great.
Was it cool just like writing it and making it, it's like an hour and 45 minute
seeing
movie.
the whole thing through?
Wasn't it just an awesome experience? Because you wrote and you directed it. Just experienced the whole thing.
Jeez.
Absolutely. It was wonderful. And I want to do it again with, a family film or ghost story, something along that line. I have done another film that I just finally got the music on, and it's kind of a dark comedy called Catching Up. A socialite becomes very fascinated with an ex-con's past, and so very dark. I went black and white on it. It's kind of is falling between a short and a feature film length, but not long enough to really be a feature film.
Sure.
It's 45 minutes. And so, as far as, lengthwise and story-wise, that choice was not a great one for selling and doing that with it. But it was something I wanted to experiment with. I wanted to take a look at the script came from a play from a New York playwright by the name of Tom Syme. And I really wanted to straddle the two worlds. So it's an art piece. It's not,
it's one for you.
Traditional style film. Yeah. It's for me.
Do you find being in Ruidoso there, I mean, obviously you hear New Mexico, the state of New Mexico is very big in film and rising right now. But do you find that there are pretty limited resources up in the mountains, up in Ruidoso, as far as if you need to get a little crew together or a cinematographer or something like that?
So far I've managed. I do want to get a cinematographer with a lot more experience for my next go around. So I'll probably be bringing in a cinematographer from someplace else. But at this point, I have a good crew that I work with and that I've trained, and they had certain skills, I had some skills, and we kind of mixed them, and we're come together for a pretty good strong team.
That's awesome.
There's a few people that I would like to add to that list, but yeah, no, I would definitely, especially I think in a ghost story, I think my crew and stuff would really have a lot of fun with that. And
sure.
And the horror fans are very kind and stuff. So
very supportive.
I think I can. Yeah, they are very supportive. I think I can find something that I can feel comfortable doing and that they'll enjoy too.
Sure.
I don't want anything that's too rough, too violent, too. For me, it doesn't fit with who I am. And it's not that I'm actually starting to really understand why people enjoy the horror films. And finally, it just hit me a few months ago, is that this kind of, it's like a safe scare. I was like, okay, now I finally get it. I finally get it. And since I watched The Others and another one called The Awakening and things, and I liked both of those. I could definitely do something like that.
The Awakening is very good.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good too. I liked that a lot. And so I could definitely see myself with the right script and the right project. I have one in my head that I'd kind of like to do in it, and I will. I plan on writing it at some point, but writing takes a long time. So I would really like to find something that's kind of ready to go now that I could shoot. I'm really hoping to find something I could shoot, by this spring. But I want to make sure that I have a really strong script before I jump off the cliff this time.
We're finding out that writing is like the biggest thing.
It is. You need a script in place before you go anywhere.
Yeah, we're actually we're not as far along as you. We're trying to do our first sort of cult classic horror sponsored feature.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we're aiming to shoot in the summer, but we want to try and write most of it ourselves, that not so many people have their fingers in it, and so we're going back and forth. We're partnering with the studio on it, and it's like they're coming up with some of the story, and it's just been this huge. I never thought it'd be so hard to write a horror movie.
It's very difficult to write anything, because there's everything. One of the main things to remember in a screenplay, every piece of dialogue, every action needs to move your plot forward. If you have a scene where the only thing that you're doing is giving background, you're not doing your job. Background needs to be there, and it can be interwoven, but you need to have that action and that plot moving through there, or you'll lose your audience. They'll get bored very quickly.
Yeah.
And you need to have payoffs for your audience. You need to leave them breadcrumbs and then let them discover and let them be surprised, or "Ooh, I was right," or "Oh, dang, I was wrong."
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. It's those moments that we all really love when we're like wondering, what is it? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, I bet it's this. Oh, wait, no,
Yeah.
do you think it's this?
Yes.
You want those moments in there
The whodunit.
that, when I'm reading the script, that's what I want. I want the whole time to be asking what's happening. Because the second I stop asking what's happening, I'm no longer interested.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly
That
right.
makes sense.
I'm done.
Oh, well, cool. I mean,
And,
did you? You had the video. You have the movie on Amazon Video. So if you guys listening want to check that out, Billy Shakespeare, right?
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to promote?
It's not scary.
Yeah. Billy Shakespeare.
It's all right.
Comedy romance. There we go.
That's
all right.
That's okay.
We horror fans love all movies.
Yeah. Right.
Yay.
But,
Is there?
Yay.
but for sure, there's nobody in a hockey mask or a machete or anything.
Yeah. Dang it.
No, nothing like that. Well, actually, so I do have a joke in there about Friday the 13th.
There we
and
go.
It refers to my scene.
Ah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
there's
Oh,
a
good.
joke in there. When you get
Nice.
to the golf course, you'll see it.
Keep your eye out. Little Easter egg for the fans.
You also,
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You also have a film, like a company, VorheesFilms.com. So that's
Yeah.
a shout out for you too. So.
I'm guessing that a lot of
Yeah.
fans go, "Ooh, Voorhees Films! I bet it's packed with horror." And then they get there and they're like, "Oh,
I know. They find Shakespeare.
Yeah.
What?
Whoa. What's this? Of course.
What?
But you'll be working on your ghost one. And
yeah, you get the ghost story out there.
That's
get up there
right.
soon.
We'll rally
That's right.
around it."
Yeah. Yeah.
I really would like to do one if I can find the right script. I think it would be. I think that would be something that would be fun to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we could cover on the podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we it's semi-related to Shakespeare. So Scotty and our family owns a dinner theater in the town of Longmont here where we're from. And they do mainly your popular musicals like Sound of Music and Annie and things like that. But one of the favorites that we'll do is the complete works of Shakespeare abridged. And so
Nice.
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
basically making fun of it the whole time, but it's a really fun
But
show.
they truly love it. It's
it's
three
great.
guys doing all of Shakespeare
yeah, I
plays
think
in
you're
like
obviously probably familiar
in
with
like
it.
2 hours, and we play all the girl parts and all that. You're probably familiar with it. I
Oh,
wear all the wigs because I'm bald.
Fun. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So we love Shakespeare too, for sure.
yeah. But
And I really enjoy the stage too, theater. I covered that for a long time with the Dallas Morning News, and then, I was going to, 2 and 3 and 4 plays a week,
Oh,
and
great.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of straddle with this film. You guys might like it. It has kind of a, in a dark way, a little bit, not, I can't call it scary,
mm-hmm.
but it's definitely has, a bit macabre
Sure.
kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Mysterious.
She's very, very fascinated with the whole idea of what it would be like to kill someone.
Yeah. I'll have
And
to check it out.
so yeah,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
really kind of but it's a comedy. It's not a I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a kind of straddles. It's different.
Okay.
But,
Billy Shakespeare on Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check
I'll
it out for
definitely have
sure.
to watch it. Definitely. But
Thank you.
well, yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to tell people about? You got that on Amazon. A script in the works for a ghost film.
VorheesFilms.com.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if anybody has a script out there I would like to also do. I think it'd be fun to do a family film. Maybe with I want to do something kind of magical and just really one of those that you leave just feeling so good.
Sure.
I want something with a celestial angel, you know. I think about those films that I loved so much, you know, and
Sure.
I would really love to create something that, you know, could be one of those things. I just love that film. I want to see it over and over and over again. And it just makes you feel so good inside your heart.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, cool. Well, I mean, that sort of covers what I had for you. I don't know if you had anything else, Rob. You had just aching to get answered.
No, I got everything answered. It just was awesome experience to get to hang out with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us,
Well,
Deborah.
thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Such an honor.
Hey, I appreciate you guys very much. It was really kind of you to contact me, and you've been very nice to me, and I appreciate that.
Well, it's kind of you to come on our show,
Yeah,
so we really appreciate
We appreciate it too. So, you guys listening, check out VoorheesFilms.com. Go to Amazon and watch Billy Shakespeare. Keep your eyes.
I already rented it. I already got it.
You got it.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. Keep your
well,
eyes
if you
out.
go on to Vimeo, you can go see Othello, Goodnight, My Sweet, and that's scary.
Oh,
Othello,
Goodnight, My Sweet.
Othello, Goodnight,
You know,
My
it's the
Sweet.
final death scene.
Okay.
10 minutes.
So
good.
check out the short on Vimeo and keep your eyes out for more coming from VoorheesFilms.com. So, thank you again, Deborah.
Thank you.
And
y'all take care.
All right, we'll
and keep in touch with me.
Yes. Yeah.
We will.
We'll get down to your neck of the woods soon.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay, and I want to hear about your movie and everything that you're working on too.
We'll keep you,
one of these days.
We'll keep you posted.
Keep in touch for sure.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us, everybody, and stay tuned to the Patreon page, and we'll see you for an episode next week. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.